Okay,
What in the
so we're
world?
good.
You're
You
gonna
can
learn
see
something
me.
new today. It's called Zoom. It's amazing.
No, I've heard of it because I've gone to meetings where other people have come in on Zoom, but I've never done it.
All right. Well, there you go.
And I haven't
How
used
are you?
my camera in a long time. I had to uncover, the tape was stuck on. So how are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to finally meet you, face to face, so to speak, and have this conversation with you. I've heard your name so many times. I'm the guy behind the scenes who builds the machine, the architect, so to speak, and like, oh, we have an idea. I'm like, all right, let me figure that out, and let's put this together, that together, figure out a strategy, and then it's there, and then people show up and enjoy it and benefit from it.
Cool.
And I'm the main architect behind Probate in terms of figuring that
Thank
out.
you.
What was that?
I said thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. And then, one of the reasons I want to talk to you is obviously first to kind of get to meet you. And more importantly is just really to not so much like dive into, how do you do probate real estate, even though it's called Life in the Probate Real Estate Lane. It's more about the people that are doing it, the personalities. I really want to get to know people on a better level. That's why we're recording this, and also share it with others. Because at the end of the day, people don't connect with technology, connect with people, right? And we built technology to help bridge that gap. And the reason we built Probate Data, which originally was called getprobateleads.com, was because we noticed that there was that gap. Once agents got the knowledge and the certification, they're like, okay, I don't want to deal with the courthouse. So we're like, okay, let's close that gap so we can help more PRs resolve their estate issues and whatnot. So I'm really excited to talk to you. And I, on my bike ride over here to my studio, I was thinking about what's the first question I want to know about Deborah. And it's not so much how did you do it. It's more like, where did you get this? You come across as a very strategic woman who thinks things through and is very like meticulous in her approach about things. And there's a unique combination of it's like strategy and drive. Like, where did is that in your blood? Does that come from family? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's family. I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. I'm a military kid, although I'm only 27, so I'll say I'm a military kid. But growing up in the military, you learn very quickly to be strategic and to you got to adapt very quickly. You got to make friends very quickly because you may live one place for 6 months and one place for 2 years and one place for 10 years. And so when you want to know something, you've got to make friends very quickly, because you're not from a certain area, so you've got to find out very quickly. So I think for me, I use a little bit of family. I use a little bit of my background as far as corporate life in everything that I do. And when I have a goal, I got to figure out how to make that goal, because I always tease everyone, no one's going to get in the middle of me making money. So I got to figure out how to do it.
I love it. I love it. And that's fantastic. So this idea of applying strategy to what you do in life and your goals, has it always been have you always been like mostly in real estate, or what did you do before real estate? And how did that serve you, that personality trait?
I've always been in high positions in corporate America. I was an engineer. I went to school for architecture. And so I came up in a career that was predominantly male. And so, you just I always had this parent tape. My parents always said, you have 2 eyes and 2 ears for a reason, and just watch what others do and how they operate their business, because one day you may want to have a business. So everything, when you speak about the strategic part of me, that's accurate.
Yeah.
I always knew I would go into corporate America, but I knew I was not a corporate America girl. And so you play that game, you get the promotions, and you get as high as you are able to, so that you know how to operate a business. And ultimately knowing my end game was to have my own business at some point. I didn't know what that business would be. It wasn't necessarily real estate.
Right.
I just knew that I wanted it to be that.
So what is it you think about entrepreneurs? What is it about us that gives us that drive? Based on your experience, what you've seen, where my personal take is we have this desire to be free and have independence. and based on having worked with a lot of different businesses and agents and non-agents alike, and brokers, but I've noticed that people get into the idea of want to be, self-employed. I want to own a business and all that, and they have all this freedom, and then they wake up on Monday morning like, oh, there's no structure.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do next, and all of that. So you came in with a preset structure in your mind around, okay, here's my goal, here's a strategy, here's what my parents taught me. Now, did you apply this in any business before real estate? Did you do any other?
Well, I was a Girl Scout, so I sold Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
I've had a lemonade stand.
Yeah.
I've sold candy. So I've always had that mindset of, I get an allowance, but it's not enough. And when you're growing up and you want those favorite pair of tennis shoes or your favorite pair of jeans, and your mother says, you don't need anybody else's name on your behind, and I want it on my behind, I have to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah.
So I've always had the mindset, like you said, of having my own business, and what do I need to do to get there.
Yeah.
To answer your original question of what's that mindset of entrepreneurs, I'm in a couple of leadership groups.
Okay.
And one thing we all have in common, we really don't like authority.
Mm.
We respect it.
Yeah.
But I always believe if you are working at someone else's business, just like when you are renting an apartment or a house, you're paying someone else's mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the same thing in business. If you are working at someone else's job, you are, increasing their bottom line, not yours.
Right.
So pay attention to how they did it. And if you can't figure that out, then ask for someone to mentor you so you can get faster. And that's one of my secrets. I have a lot of mentors, and I'm a mentor to a lot of people.
Yeah, I noticed that, and we can get into it a little bit later, that you're expanding your empire a little bit, going into a different state, and we can talk about it if you like. Mm-hmm. But I noticed that because Megan filled me in on your conversation with her and how you brought on another person.
Yes.
So that's exciting. That's really interesting. I like how you're taking this with full force and looking at, well, where else is probate data, and where do I know people? Let's get some business going there, which is really interesting. Mm-hmm. And what is it, do you think, what is it about real estate that gets you going? Like, what is it? Is there something about real estate itself and being an agent, or are you a broker as well, or agent?
I am a broker. I'm not a broker of my own firm, but I'm a broker in the office that I am actually the managing broker there as well. Okay. So I'm juggling my team, and all the other problems that come in the office come to me. So, and I know that sounds crazy. Yeah, I think that sounds crazy for some to say, okay, why would you take on that? Well, teachers teach to learn. Yeah. And as long as I'm still teaching and I'm still getting those questions, it keeps me sharp. So it's a little selfish why I'm doing it, because I stay sharp.
Well, the beauty of teaching is, the beauty of teaching is, the more you teach, it's not like it's the process of teaching is robbing you of your knowledge. It's like you're watering your garden, and your garden is becoming greener and bigger and more fruitful as a result, right? Just by the act of teaching, and that's beautiful. And you mentioned mentors. What who's the first mentor that comes to mind when it comes to business? And like, what was a big aha moment, or what you learned from that?
That would probably be my aunt. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. And her very first business, she had a kiosk at a mall, and she sells school uniforms. And I admired my aunt quite a bit. If she was the first person that I knew started a business like from the ground up, and she's today still doing that. Of course, my parents, my father has always bought real estate. It wasn't that I grew up and said, oh, I want to be a real estate agent one day. He started buying apartments and rental properties when we were young. So he started creating that empire and planting that seed way before I even knew how this full circle would happen. So if I had to say, the very first person for me would have been my aunt, to see how she worked for Kraft and left that corporate world and started her own business, and she's been an entrepreneur ever since.
And what would you say is the most impactful thing you learned from her that's kind of set you off on your journey?
I can tell you exactly what it is. To see a woman
Mm.
independent, doing that on her own. She wasn't married, she didn't have any kids at the time, and to just walk away from a very lucrative corporate position and just say, I'm going to go out and do this on my own.
Mm.
And she didn't think she was going to sell school uniforms, but through her church, there was a need for that. And she just created that niche and went for it. And so she was always that kind of person I looked up to as far as independence and starting businesses and being out on her own.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. It sounds like your aunt, she took a leap of faith, and then the community caught her
Yes.
and said, well, we need this. And she said, okay, I'll do that. She
Yeah.
stepped into an area of like, I'll be of service. However, I know I can. I have no idea about school uniforms, or maybe I do. Or like, I just know that I can't do this anymore. I'd rather just be free. And I'm not going to pay any mind to any chatter of what the culture says and I can or cannot.
Exactly.
Or whether I
Exactly.
should be married with kids at this point or not. It doesn't really matter. Like, I want to claim my independence, my freedom, and move forward on that, obviously. So that's wonderful. So that's how long ago was that? And like, were you a young girl at that time?
That would probably be like in the 70s, and
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't really heard of. It was, you get married and you have children and that type of thing. And I just grew up in a family where, of course, your parents want you to be happy and they want grandchildren, but it wasn't pounded into me to go, oh, you need a nice husband and you need a this and you need a that. It was learn, grow, get your education,
Mm-hmm.
and take that and use it to the best of your ability and
Oh, that's
give.
wonderful.
That's it. There was no pressure put on us as kids as to this is what you need to do and this is the direction you need to go.
Yeah, right on. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Is this the aunt from your mom's side or your dad's side?
My father's side, he's the
Oh,
entrepreneur side.
okay.
He's always, and he's the second person I watched. There was never an obstacle. There was never a no. He didn't have anyone that didn't know his name, and we would always think he was crazy, but he always came out on the right end of it.
Yeah,
So he just
yeah,
went for it. I think I have that part of him. I think the
yeah,
strategic
yeah. Just
is from my
somehow
mom's
learn to
side,
figure
and
it
the
out.
jump side is on my father's side.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. That's amazing. So for let's say if you come across someone who's brand new and they didn't really have the same luck as you, the same resource in terms of like you were raised with a certain mindset and you were encouraged and you had some pioneers in your family. What would you tell someone who's like, hey, that sounds great what you're saying, but that doesn't apply to me at all. My parents were whatever, they weren't divorced, they weren't available, or I had a really rough time growing up, or I was completely coddled all the time, and now at 25, I'm out there, got to figure the world out. What would you say is the first thing someone needs to do before they go into a business or maybe even real estate?
Well, I do have that from time to time because people call me, they find me online, or someone says, hey, you need to call Deborah. I'm a little bit blunt, and I don't believe in pity parties.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have them, including myself. And when I do, I tend to stay home that day. I'm not going to spread that on anyone else. Have a lot of chocolate, watch a lot of stupid movies,
Yeah.
rerun Game of Thrones, and then you get back into it. But the biggest thing is I will start out by telling them to get over yourself.
Mm.
How you were brought up, who your parents are, has nothing to do with who you could be and who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
This first step is you want to be.
Mm.
So let's figure out what are your strengths, what are the things that you need to leverage out. I don't think it's a weakness. I think it's just if it's something you don't like to do, like me, paperwork, let's leverage that out and
Yeah.
let's concentrate on the strengths, because that's the quickest way to make money is to
Yeah.
concentrate on the strengths.
Yeah.
So that's usually what comes out of my mouth first. I've been told many times I am, what is it, tough love. And I think that comes from, again, the parent tape. My parents were tough.
Yeah.
If we had a question and we didn't know, we were sent back to our room to read the book or read the instructions. And then if you couldn't figure it out, come back and then they'll assist you. So I treat everyone that I mentor that same way. I don't think you can interview anyone that has mentored with me that won't say, oh yeah, she's tough, but they're also now making more money than me or more successful than me. And so they'll send me little emails going, oh my gosh, I just did 10 million in volume. And I remember when you said, and it doesn't matter what it is, because I don't remember saying it, but they do. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I approach people that are new in the business. And
Yeah.
then
So,
just start small. Don't try to, I tell them, if you try to follow me, you're going to go broke.
mm,
This is 23 years of success and failure. You know, that saying is never old. Eat the elephant a bite at a time, and,
mm,
and do what you can afford. When I started in the business, I could afford to do a lot of things, but I did the free things first.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. The way you said it, you get over yourself in the sense of that whatever has happened so far, obviously it shapes you who you become, but it doesn't have to shape who you want to become.
Exactly.
Right.
Mhm.
That's really fascinating. I like that take on the way you look at it. When we started roughly 10 years ago, we were in a, it was 2008, 2009.
Mhm.
There was more businesses going out of business, going bankrupt than businesses starting. And we were starting when it was possibly the worst time to ever start. Like no one, she was like, "You're starting a business now? Everyone's broke. No one is." And we just kept saying no. I mean, we
Mhm.
believe people need a solution, get out of this thing. And we believe we have that solution. What I learned yesterday is people, I heard it somewhere on a webinar. I was part of a coaching program that I signed up for. And he said, people will bargain for tools, but they'll pay for solutions.
Mhm. Mhm.
So whatever you're offering, is it a tool or is it a solution? And which kind of brings you to my next question for you. I notice you talk about money as if it is important to you, but it is important to you, but I don't think it's your main reason for doing stuff. So I'm curious, uh, what does money? So what does money mean to you? What is money? What is this thing called money? And how does that trip people up, especially real estate agents, when it comes to this thing called money, based on your experience of doing this for 23 years and mentored a bunch of agents and your own life experience?
My parents, and I always go back to my parents a lot because they taught us about money, and I know that I'm very, very blessed by that because many people, many peers tell me, we didn't have money, or my parents didn't teach us about how to open a bank account and how to save, and we were taught that.
Mm.
We were given an allowance. We were taken to the bank to open our first little kitty Christmas account and things of that nature. Um, I'm the oldest, and so money for me was woohoo, let's go spend it. Where my other two sisters were a little more, no, I'm going to squeeze George Washington until he screams. And of course, I've matured over the years, but I joke a lot about money as far as, don't get in the middle of it and stuff like that. It's not that I'm trying to accumulate it and roll around in it. For me, it's freedom. If I want something, I can buy it. If I want to save it, I can save it. I'm proud of the fact that I made all the stupid mistakes, regardless of the fact that my parents said, really, that's what you want to do? That's what you want to spend it on?
Wait, even
Okay.
your dad said that? Wait a minute.
Yes,
Even your
yes,
dad said that?
yes.
He got a taste of his own medicine, huh?
Exactly, exactly. And the thing is, once if I could give everybody advice on the money thing, even in real estate or anything they do, is if you don't respect it, you won't have it.
Mm,
And when you mature, because we all have to mature in it,
mm,
when you mature with money, that's when it will snowball.
mm,
And so it took a while for all those parent lessons to sink in, to say, okay, I get it now.
mm.
That light bulb switched on. The very first light bulb for me, I was in corporate America, you know, I thought I was all that in a bag of chips, as they say. And
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
the townhome and the cars and the clothes and the credit cards.
And the
And
title, I'm sure.
oh, yeah. And the thing is, everything in the mailbox was a bill.
Yeah.
And I woke up one day and said, it'd be nice if there was a letter in there, back in the day when people wrote. And I had that light bulb moment. And
Yeah.
I said, this is ridiculous. And even though I was making a very good salary, I got a second job and I was only going to do it for a year, ended up doing it 4 years, paid off my car, paid off the credit cards, paid off everything, and never looked back.
Mm,
And when the moment arrived for me to go into real estate, even though my husband and I had the means to do this for a year and not sell any houses, we gave ourselves a goal of 3 months and said, if we are not selling, if we're not excelling in this, if we're not making money, we don't have a return on this investment, we go back to corporate America. Well, in my mind, I was going, I'm not going back to corporate America. So this is going to work.
Yeah.
And so in order for that to happen, you have to do the work. And if you're not willing to do the work, nothing falls into place.
Yeah. There's never a right time to start, right?
No.
Just always find, if you try to think it through, and this is what we hear a lot when our enrollment advisors are talking to people. Like, well, I don't, I'm just going to wait. I have this thing. I'm waiting for this. It's never the right time to start something new because it always feels uncomfortable. It always feels risky. It always takes.
I call that getting ready to get ready.
Get ready to get ready, or think about thinking about it. I'm going to start thinking about when I can start doing this, but let me think about it first. It's as long as people are logically involved in the decision, they're not going to make a decision. I mean, there has to be an emotion and go, okay, I want to get this, or I want to get out of where I'm at. You got to take people from what their current hell is into their next paradise. Is saying, okay, I don't like this anymore. I want to get into whatever's next or what's better. And so we can provide that ticket for them, which we believe we can through probate real estate. Like there's so many programs out there in business and in real estate and all that. You just got to pick a niche. And the reason we liked probate real estate and the reason Mike and Molly and I partnered up in certain areas was because it's just such a no-brainer. There's a bunch of people going through probate and they need help, right? And then they are motivated. And well, I'm curious, like you signed up with MTI and probatedata what, a year and a half ago, maybe?
No, I think it's longer than that now. What is this, 2019?
Yeah.
I want to say it was 2016.
Oh, wow. It's
yeah, I
good,
think
2.5, 3 years, yeah.
It's either 2016, 2017, somewhere around there.
And one of our first Atlanta people that signed up.
Yeah, it was also long time I've been looking for a program like this, to be quite honest with you. And I tell everyone that calls from Facebook and things like that, they'll catch me and say, we hear a lot about you and your picture was on the screen at the class and I just want to know, is this thing real? And so I give them my numbers and stuff like that. And I didn't hesitate. We went to the free day that you guys offer and we signed up right away. And the reason we signed up right away, because I've been searching for probate for years and there's tons of $99 webinars out there. And I seem to be on everybody's list because of all the analytics that goes on. Oh, she does probate. Let's tell her about our program.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what they're doing. You guys are showing us. They're just telling us. And you've backed it with tools that work with some of the best leads out there. I mean, I don't do Zillow or Realtor.com type leads. I never have. Yeah. But it's, for Atlanta anyway, I know that every state is different, but for our city, the information is accurate. The phone numbers are accurate. We mainly prospect. We don't do any mailing or anything like that.
Right.
And like you said, when you started this, I wish I knew about it in 2008 because I was the main broker at a different office where I did run the office. And when the market was crashing and people were losing their houses and agents were getting out of the business, they were just doing rentals. And I kept saying, no, specialize in the next thing. And when you talk about how I think about things strategically and methodically, I'm already thinking about what the next thing is.
Yeah.
Watch the market, what's next.
Yeah.
Baby boomers, probate's not going anywhere because one thing is for certain, we're going to pay taxes and die.
Yeah.
And with that comes probate. Yeah. So it is the main portion of my business now and will be, and they tell me, snatch the lockbox out of my hand. So.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's great to hear. And then this, I guess it was just all timing because you were looking for the right thing, the right system in probate. And that's one of the things even 10 years into it, we're constantly asking ourselves. In fact, I was just meeting with Mike and Molly yesterday. Like, what's the ultimate experience for an agent? Like, what's the ultimate solution? What else can we do for them, right? Because we hear a lot like, well, can you do this? Can you do that? But it's we need to stay focused on what we're great at, which is, I believe, is training, because of Mike and Molly's teaching background. Mm-hmm. And then that's one aspect, but then also thinking about what's the next thing in technology, which is where I come in and say, well, what can we do with technology? What can we do with leads? Like the last evolution of probatedata was platinum, which is people saying we don't want to figure out probatedata. It's a great machine, but honestly, I'm a little intimidated because I got to log in. I got to figure this out. I got to watch webinars. Now there's friction, right? And we have people canceling. So we tested this thing out for a year, and we noticed that whoever upgraded to, well, back then was called premium, but now it's called platinum, was that no one quit. I was like, wow, imagine that. They just want leads in their inbox. We'll give it to leads in their inbox, and we'll make it super simple and no friction whatsoever. And now they have all these leads from up to like 3 counties or more if they want it. And it's interesting. Now it's a different problem, right? Now it's like, well, I have all these leads. What I'm going to do with them? Follow the instructions from CPRES program. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like, what's the one thing I need to do? Follow the instructions. Okay, but what's like the secret sauce? Should I call Deborah Blue? No. Follow the instructions. How do you think Deborah Blue got to where she is? Or John Tukas or Monica or anyone, right?
Yeah.
How do you think they got, or Andrea Schenk? There's a couple people on Facebook group and that we have out there when we're promoting the material that we use as names, and like Mike Ace. How do you think they got there? Do you think they had like a magic button that go, oh, I'm going to push this button and then cha-ching? No, they followed the instructions. Yeah. I was interviewing a gentleman, Jerry Murbury, last week.
I've talked to him before, yeah.
You talked to him before? And, he went from like owing a ton of money and taxes and all that to last year, after being with us for like 16 months or so, where he just closed out last year with like good 6 figures. He was number 5 agent out of 500 in his group. So he's in the top 1%. And he's like, I just sent those letters out, man. I don't know what happened. And people call me. It's like, that's the story that people should hear. It's like, just follow the instructions, Mm-hmm. And I think follow the instructions is so hard because people have this mindset like, I want to make money now, or it's got to happen, so it's got to be different. I got to do something special. I got to put out ads, whatever it is, instead of just following the instructions, right? So I'm curious, when you signed up, how much of that did you keep doing, like follow instructions, and how did you find out that phone calls were the thing for you?
I've always prospected. I'm 23 years in the business, and that's how I started. Because if you think about it, I started in 1996. The internet was just starting.
Yeah.
We were still using fax machines and pagers. So you had no choice but to mail out postcards, door knock, or call. That's it. And now everything is a push button away, where before you drove neighborhoods to write down the address, or you used Kohl's database, which was a book.
Yeah.
You can buy it online. So I did the hard work and created the database. But you're right. Even some of the calls I get, people want to just know, what's the secret sauce? And I'm like, pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone.
What's the secret sauce? Pick up the phone. Well, should I send a sympathy card? They don't know you. Pick up the card. You're a professional and you're calling them with a service. So I just don't let people that call me or want to mentor with me go off onto these tangents. And I will say I did have a secret weapon, so to speak. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but my father did pass 5 years ago. And I relate to the person that I'm talking to, and I share my own personal story. And the thing is, no matter how much technology we have, we're still human beings, and we still relate by touching, talking, seeing each other, and having common interest. And so I do let people know, especially when I hear of a problem or something like that, that I know I can help them with, or something we did when we were settling Dad's estate. Look, you don't need to do that. I don't give legal advice. I don't give attorney advice, because the attorneys are on to us now. My qualifying broker said to me the other day, we were in a meeting and an attorney mentioned your name. Now, he didn't have a problem with it. He got a kick out of it. He's like, oh, you're talking about my managing broker. And I think I sent you an email to say, is there anything on our website that, I could have said, oh, let me stop doing this. I just said, well, was I violating anything? He says, I don't know. I said, do you want to see my website? He goes, no. I said, okay, let's keep moving on. I'm
Yeah.
like, unless you have something specific,
Yeah.
I can't be bothered with that, time to
Yeah.
make more
No.
money.
It's interesting. When we designed the Ultimate Probate Lead Converter, which is the website you're referring to, we were very meticulous and very careful about writing copy for the website and writing all the email, writing the ebooks and the reports and all that. We had a paralegal review it, and we also had an attorney review it. We want to make sure that it was generalized enough to where it's just educational and informative and not giving advice. So we never say do this, don't do that, or follow this code or that code and probate here. It's not about that. Like, and that's also when a lot of times we'll get students coming in and saying, well, I want to go really deep in probate. I go, no, you don't, because now you know too much is going to kill the sale. You want to know how you can really help someone. And you do that by understanding a few keywords, a little bit of the jargon, understand the timeline, the thing they're going through. If you had someone pass in your life, you can relate to them personally, whether they went through probate or not. If you get someone, like in my case, my father passed 13 years ago. And luckily, he had a fully vested living trust set up. There was a few things that had to be figured out, but it was like a 2-hour meeting and $800 later for the attorney. My brother, my sister, my mom, and I, we sat there and we looked through and go, yeah, that looks good. And we signed off, and then my mom was in charge. That was it until
Same
she.
with us.
But so that doesn't happen 95% of the time.
Right.
95% of the time, it's man,
Yeah.
there's a will, but
Yeah.
grandpa didn't know better, dad didn't know better, mom didn't know better. Yeah. And I think the people that are succeeding and been with us for years are the ones that kind of got out of the REO short sale madness and dealing with asset managers and making it a numbers game. And they were just like drained by that, because I think a lot of people signed up originally for real estate agency because they were good at building relationships and relating with people that juiced them up. It got them going, right? And I think probate real estate is one of those areas where you have to be able to connect with people. You have to have empathy. You have to not become their shrink, but at the minimum, hold a space for them where they can just relax and trust that you're going to be there and help them out and understand what's going on.
It's a big trust area. And if I didn't feel like I could make people feel that way, I wouldn't do this, because that was phony. But because I have experienced it, I was the executor. Even though my mom was still in charge of everything, I think my dad did that because of the real estate holdings that we have. He knew I could handle dealing with that and she could handle everything else. So we just split the responsibilities. But what I'm finding with the probates I've done, and this is May, and we've closed about 11 so far, as far as just probate, not all of my real estate, but just the probate transactions.
Yeah.
Most of them have had tax issues. And so I feel like anyone getting into this, keep educating yourself on the different problems that could come out, and get the proper team members. And what I mean by that is not team on your real estate team, but your closing attorneys. You don't want to close with maybe your traditional real estate attorney you like going to because they have the best candy on the table. You need someone that, if you have a tax issue on the title problem, maybe they bought it at a tax sale, and even though their will is correct, we've got to go back and figure out if all the heirs, when this was sold at a tax sale, it was done properly. That's what I'm running into a lot. And I have the perfect attorneys that know what to do. We've written affidavits, sent it to the court, and a closing that could have died, for most agents who don't know, only was delayed by 10 days.
Yeah.
I knew what to do. I knew who to call and that type of thing. So I've really just dove into what happens on these titles. I just closed one with 3 sisters that don't speak to each other, and it had a tax issue on top of that, and everybody wanted an attorney, but I kept the thing going. It could have blown up because of hurt feelings and that kind of thing, and I just kept saying to each one of them, I'll talk to you individually, I'll send you the contract individually, and guess what you guys are fighting about has nothing to do with the sale. You can do that with the probate attorney. I'm here to sell the asset. So you keep everybody, I always teach everyone, someone has to stay sane at the table. It might as well be you.
Yeah. Do you have kids yourself?
No, I'm the favorite aunt, and I think I was blessed to be a mama to all these other people that have entered in my life. But no, we never had any interest in that.
That's because the approach that you're taking is very much like the parenting. Like, okay, the kids are throwing a tantrum, the parents got to stay like, okay, You know, all
Exactly.
right, I know you don't like this. I acknowledge that you're having a hard time. And I
Yeah,
guess, I imagine it's you're fighting with your sisters. You can continue to fight with her after we sell the house. And guess what? There's more money in the bank to fight
that's
over.
right.
So why don't we do that?
That's right. That's exactly right. And
Yeah,
so I find it's no different. So at the end of the day, it closes. Everyone seems to kind of go, "Oh, this was fun," or "This wasn't so bad," except for the one that I'm telling you about with the three sisters. They're still waiting on dividing that money. But now I'm listing one of the sisters' houses Sunday.
yeah,
So not a probate, but it goes to show you it's not just probate. It's all the additional business you get from
yeah,
it.
yeah. So I just want to kind of pick up the few nuggets here that I heard you mention before we finish our chat here. One of the things you mentioned is follow the program, follow the process, pick up the phone, make the call. If you're not into phones, then send out mailers, be consistent. Like for Jerry, it's all about mailers, and his phone
Right.
started ringing, and he was like, okay, yeah, I can help you. For you, it's more like, I'm going to call you. So for any agents that are watching or listening right now, it's basically find your thing. If it's door knocking, mailing, if it's online, if it's your phone, find something that works for you and just do that, deliberately and consistently. And then the second thing you brought up was, is being willing to connect with people, to help them, to have empathy, to show them that you care, and be professional about it, and be the same person in the process. Because losing someone, as you know, you lost your father, I lost mine. Losing someone just rips out an infrastructure in your heart and in your mind and in your psyche, and it's you're in a free fall. And when
Right.
someone shows up as a beacon of light and say, okay, I got this, we will push through with this, and then the probate attorney will handle everything else. And the
Correct.
third thing I heard you mention is having a team, not necessarily a team inside your real estate office, but a team of people, of professionals that make you, that allows you to help the PR go through what they need to go through. So if it's a challenging situation, you need a good attorney that can help out with that. If it's, like we always tell the agents that sign up for our UPLC program, the Ultimate Probate Lead Converter, you always have to have a list of referrals that you can send out of people. Like, I have a great gardener, I have a cleanup service, I have a CPA. So just be ready to push that out, and not with the intention of, oh, I referred you someone, now you got to give me someone
Right.
back, because
Right.
that's going to happen eventually. If you just lead with, I want to support and I want to be a service, I want to help these people, it's gonna come back 10 times over, as you probably experienced. Like, one of the sisters is not considering listing her house with you because she saw the way you dealt with
Mhm.
her other two sisters and her in the state of her parents. And then the last thing that I heard you say is basically, no, I lost my thought. It's going to come back. I have one more, but it's like, oh, I completely lost it.
I know that feeling. It seems to be happening as I get younger.
Yeah, I know. It's just, well, maybe it wasn't that important. Well, I'm curious. Maybe it's not so much a thing that I picked up, but I want to hear from you. Like, for anyone who's like watching this and like, I don't know, should I get into it? Should I not get? Or they just got into it and they're feeling a little bit. They're having one of those days where they're feeling a little bit down, or having a pity party, or they're on the fence saying, I don't know if I should get into this. What would you say is? How would you, I guess, convince them, persuade them? What would you tell them? Like, here's get into it. If it's this, don't get into it. It's like, what would you tell someone who's on the fence?
Well, I'll share something someone told me when I was newer in the business. With enough leads, you don't get depressed. Today I had a call where we're prospecting, and the person sent a really ugly email about your barracuda and I'm grieving and that kind of thing. That's going to happen, guys. Because our timing was just bad. They were having a grieving day and we happen to call and they're not ready to deal with that, and you go next. If we miss the call, they'll send an email or say take me off the list or whatever. That hardly ever happens. I'll tell you, it hardly ever happens. And it hardly ever happens because with enough leads, you don't get caught up with the pity party. You just go next and you dial the next name and the next address and knock on the next door. But you've got to eat the elephant one piece at a time.
Yeah,
Whatever you feel that you will do consistently. You can't do what Deborah Blue's going to do or Jerry's going to do. What you have to do is say, you know what? I like knocking on doors, or I just want to send drip campaigns, or I just want to do a pop by and leave maybe an auctioneer's name if they have, or a gardener's name or something like that. If you know that you will do that consistently and it's in your budget, do that.
Hmm.
But don't get caught up with all the things you hear on the call every week or what you read. You've got to do what you'll do consistently, because what you will realize is once you get that first listing and the second one, you'll go, okay, it's like a snowball. It'll just keep happening. And you will have bad days. You will have a day of everybody tells you where to go when you call them. You hang up the phone, you either go shopping or you go you go have fun or go to the movies, do something to just get yourself back into the groove, go work out if that's your thing. It is mine, Orange Theory, for those out there that do that. And then you just come back the next day and start. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. You just keep moving forward. Or sometimes I'll get away from probate that day and just concentrate on my sphere of influence and say, you know what, I just can't do the probate today. I don't want to hear another person hang up on me or reject me or whatever. I'm going to go do something different. And if that doesn't work, take a class. Take a class to hone your skills. Last night, one of my team members went to a tax lien boot camp. Now, we know about tax liens, and when he was done, he called me. He goes, well, everything that they said, you've already taught me. However, he did mention two things that I didn't know.
Yep.
So that just honed my skills even more. Like I thought it was, 18% interest for the tax lien. It's now 20. I didn't know it went up. So you never know what you're going to get. So I know when I'm down, I go take a class because I'm around new agents or seasoned agents, and you get that energy about real estate back. So that's kind of my saving grace. And if that doesn't work, I go and have a massage.
Hey, you know what? I never heard anyone, right? That's a deep issue.
Never heard anyone.
Well, Deborah, I really want to thank you. I know you got a lot going on, and we were able to put this in the books, and I'm really grateful to you for everything that you've done. And I wish you continued success and health and lots of joy in everything that you do. And if there's anything we can do to continue to work with you and support you and expand your sphere of influence, just let us know. We're only an email or phone call away.
Yep. Tell Mike and Molly they're doing a great job. You're doing fantastic. Keep those leads coming. They're great. Expand. I'd love to expand in some more areas. So we're working on Chicago right now. So keep those states coming.
Yeah, you got it. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
You too.
Be in touch. Take care now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.